The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963, written by Christopher Paul Curtis. Welcome back to the chapter titled The Greatest Dinosaur War Ever. We're ready for part 2. I figured the trick would come in right here, so I kept a really good eye on LJ while we were putting my monsters back in the pillowcase. When we were done, I sneaked a look at his back pockets, 'cause I knew when he stole dinosaurs, he put them back there or in his socks. From the way his pockets were sticking out, it looked like he had one T-Rex and one Triceratops. I couldn't tell how many were in his socks. I figured that wasn't too bad of a price to pay for all the fun we'd had. LJ said, "You got to be back to your house by 7, don't you?" "Yeah." "Okay, we better hurry before it gets too late." After I'd sneaked the dinosaurs back into the house, we ran off towards Banky and Larry Dunn's secret fort. It wasn't until 9 o'clock at night, when I was in my bed, that a bell went off in my head. I forgot all about the radioactive dinosaurs. I put on my tennis shoes and I got out my night reading flashlight. I climbed out the back window and I went down into the backyard by the tree. I got to the battleground and I saw 3 radioactive graves. But when I moved the rock on the first one and dug down a little bit, I didn't even hit one dinosaur. Not one. The second grave was empty too. I didn't even bother to move the rock on the third one. I just sat there and felt real stupid. I couldn't help but think back to Sunday school again. I remembered the story about how a bunch of angels had come down and rolled away the rock that was in front of Jesus' grave to let him go to heaven. I think it took them about 3 days to push that rock far enough so he could sneak out. Well, my dinosaurs weren't in their graves for even 3 hours before somebody rolled their rock away. Maybe it's a lot easier for a bunch of angels to get 1,000,000 dinosaurs to heaven than it was to get one savior of the whole world there. But I wish they would have given me a couple more hours. But I was just making excuses to myself for being so stupid. I know if a detective had looked at those rocks, he wouldn't have found a clue of a single angel being there. But I bet $1,000,000 that he would have seen those rocks were covered with tons of L.J. Jones's fingerprints. I never played with L.J. again after that, so playing with Rufus got to be okay. It was a lot better not having to worry about getting your stuff stolen when you were with your friends. And it was a lot better than not spending half the time arguing over who had to be the Nazis. And I was wrong when I said that me and Rufus being together all the time, that me and Rufus being near each other all the time would make people tease us twice as much. People started leaving me alone and going right after Rufus. It was easy for them to do because he was kind of like me. He had 2 things wrong with him. The first thing that was wrong with Rufus was the way that he talked. After he said that "hi y'all" stuff on the bus, he got to be famous for it. And no matter how much he tried to talk in a different way, people wouldn't let him forget about it. The other thing that was wrong with him was his clothes. It didn't take people too long to figure out that before they counted how many pairs of pants and shirts that Rufus and Cody had. That was easy to do because Rufus only had 2 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. And Cody had 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. They also had 1 pair of blue jeans that they switched off. Some days Rufus wore them, and some days Cody rolled the legs up, and he put them on. It's really funny how something as stupid as a pair of blue jeans can make you feel real, real bad. But that's what happened. We had been sort of secret friends for a couple of weeks before people really started getting on to them about how much clothes they had. Me and Rufus and Cody were on the bus right behind the driver one day when Larry Dunn walked right up to our seat and he said, "Country cornflake, I notice how you and the little flake switch off them there pants. And I know Fridays is your day to wear 'em, but I was wondering if the same person who gets to wear the pants gets to wear the drawers that day too. Of course, the whole bus started laughing and hollering. Larry Dunn went back down to his seat real quick before the driver could tell everybody what he knew about Larry Dunn's mama. I looked over at Cody. He had the blue jeans on that day, and he was pulling the waist out to check his underpants. Maybe it was because everybody else was laughing, and maybe it was because Cody had such a strange look on his face while he was peeking at his underpants. And maybe it was because I was glad Larry hadn't jumped on me. But whatever the reason was, I cracked up too. Rufus shot a look at me. His face never changed, and I knew right away I had done something wrong. I tried to squeeze down the rest of my laugh, but things got real strange. Instead of Rufus jabbering away at me a mile a minute, he scooted around so all I could see was his back. He didn't follow me out to the playground either, and he acted like he didn't want any of my sandwiches anymore. Ever since Mama had met Rufus and I told her about sharing my sandwiches with him, she'd been giving me 4 sandwiches and 3 apples for lunch. When I saw him and Cody weren't going to come under the swing at lunchtime, I set the bag with their sandwiches and apples on the swing set. The bag was still there when the bell rang. They quit sitting next to me on the bus, too, and Rufus didn't show up to play at night. After all this junk had went on for 3 or 4 days, I sneaked the pillowcase full of dinosaurs out, and I headed over to Rufus's. I knocked on the door, and Cody answered, and I thought that maybe things were going to be okay, because Cody gave me a great big smile, and he said, "Hey, Kenny, you want to talk to Rufus?" "Hi, Cody." "Just a minute." Cody closed the door and he ran back inside. A minute later, Rufus came to the door. "Hey, Rufus, I thought you might like to play dinosaurs. It's your turn to be the Americans." Rufus looked at the pillowcase and then back at me. "I ain't playing with you no more, Kenny." "How come?" I knew, though. "I thought you was my friend. I didn't think you was like all them other people," he said. "I thought you was different." He didn't say this stuff like he was mad. He just sounded real sad. He pulled Cody out of the doorway and he shut it. Rufus might as well have tied me to a tree and said, "Ready, aim, fire." I felt like someone had pulled all my teeth out with a pair of rusty pliers. I wanted to knock on the door and tell him I am different, but I was too embarrassed, so I walked the dinosaurs back home. I couldn't believe how sad I got. It's funny how things could change so much and you wouldn't notice. All of a sudden, I started remembering how much I hated riding the bus. All of a sudden, I started remembering how lunchtime under the swing set alone wasn't very much fun. And all of a sudden, I started remembering that before Rufus came to Flint, my only friend was the world's biggest dinosaur thief, L.J. Jones. And all of a sudden, I remembered that Rufus and Cody were the only 2 kids in the whole school, other than Byron and Joey, that I didn't automatically look at sideways. A couple of days later, Mama asked me to sit in the kitchen with her for a while. "How's school?" "Okay." I knew she was fishing around to find out what was wrong, and I hoped it wouldn't take her too long. I wanted to tell her what I had done. "Well, where's Rufus been? I haven't seen him lately." It's really embarrassing, but tears just exploded out of my face. And even though I knew she was going to be disappointed in me, I told Mama how I had hurt Rufus's feelings. "Did you apologize?" "Sort of, but he wouldn't let me talk to him." "Well, give him some time and then try again." "Yes, Mama." The next day after school, when the bus pulled up at Rufus's stop, Mama was standing there. And when Rufus and Cody got off, they said, "Hi, Mrs. Watson." And they gave her their big smiles. The three of them walked towards Rufus's house. Mama put her hand on Rufus's head while they walked. Mama didn't say anything when she got home, and I didn't ask her, but I kept my eye on the clock. And at exactly 5:30, when there was a knock, I knew who it was. And I knew what I had to do. Mama and Joey came in the living room, and when they heard the knock, everything in there got real quiet. Rufus and Cody were standing on the porch smiling a mile a minute, and I said, "Rufus, I'm sorry." He said, "That's okay." It wasn't, though. I wanted him to know that I am different. He said, "Shoot, Kenny, you think I don't know? Why do you think I came back? And remember, you said it was my turn to be the Americans." People started moving around in the living room again. I guess I should have told Mama that I really did appreciate her helping me get my friend back, but I didn't have to. I was pretty sure she already knew. That's the end of chapter 3. Our next chapter is called Froze Up Southern Folks. Can't wait to find out what that's about. Join me again and we'll find out.